You're listening to AKASHVANI Mokokchung. Today, we have a very special and timely conversation lined up for you, one that touches the lives of every student, every parent, and every community that believes in the power of education. We are going to talk about teacher education, specifically the Bachelor of Education, more commonly known as B.Ed, and its vital role in shaping the teachers of our future. And who better to guide us through this conversation than someone who has dedicated her career to this cause. Joining us today is Dr. T. Alemla Longkumer, the principal of Mokokchung College of Teacher Education. Dr. Longkumer brings with her years of experience, deep expertise in teacher education, and a genuine passion for nurturing future educators. I am truly grateful that she has taken time out of what I know is an incredibly packed schedule to be here with us today. Ma'am, it is with appreciation and esteem we welcome you to the program. We sincerely thank you for gracing us with your presence. To start off, many people are aware about the B.Ed program but may not fully understand its purpose. Could you explain what B.Ed actually is?
Thank you so much for having me in your program to share the little that I know about teacher education and maybe my experiences as well. With regard to the question that you've put, see, for the preparation of teachers, we have different teacher education programs for different levels. For instance, we have the DLED, which is primarily focused on preparing teachers for the elementary level. B.Ed is for the secondary and higher secondary teachers, and we also have MEd, which specifically prepares future teacher educators. So we have many other teacher education programs, but like I said, B.Ed is specifically targeted at preparing teachers for the secondary level, which includes both the secondary and higher secondary. Of course, the qualification also qualifies one to teach from class 6 onwards. Although DLED caters to elementary education, which is up to class 8, one with the B.Ed can also teach from class 6 upwards.
Thank you, ma'am. That gives our listeners a very clear picture to begin with. Moving on, how is a B.Ed college or teacher education institution different from a regular degree college?
B.Ed is a professional program, and the kind of course that is being offered in a teacher education institution is very different from the kind of courses we have for our general courses, like your undergraduate courses or your postgraduate programs. See, in the first place, the B.Ed program caters to the requirements of future teachers to teach different subjects in the school, specifically focusing only on the B.Ed program. So the program as such is composed of different broad combination of subjects. For instance, we have certain perspective courses which throw light on different aspects of education, probably from the philosophical, the psychological, the sociological perspectives. We also have something called the curriculum and pedagogic studies, which are mostly focused on the pedagogical aspects of different subjects, school subjects. For instance, we have pedagogy of science, we have pedagogy of mathematics, social sciences, language, English, and of course, although we do not have it in our university, there is also pedagogical courses that cater to commerce education, and then we have another category of courses which is called, engagement with the field. So in this, we have different competency-based courses which help one to develop understanding of oneself first, and also preparing them to transact their courses, their subjects more efficiently and more competently through the use of ICT, for instance, or through theater, drama, art, So these are the different kinds of competency-based courses that we have. Then, of course, the most important part, we have an internship program, which is supposed to spread over 20 weeks, where the student teachers intern in different schools across the urban areas and also in the rural schools. So this is how the course is designed. So definitely there is a vast difference between the normal kind of a course and the professional course. Yeah.
Very interesting. So there are quite distinct differences in how these institutions function. That leads us naturally to the next question. That is a B.Ed degree necessary to become a teacher? What important skills might a teacher lack without professional training, and how can this affect students and the education system as a whole?
There's often a common saying that goes, teachers are born, to which I would not also disagree. But teaching is both a science and an art. One may have certain innate qualities to be a very good teacher, but teaching is not only about your personal attributes and qualities. Since it is also a science, theoretical foundations, theoretical backgrounds to what teaching is, how teaching should be, how learning happens, how do you understand a child, because every child is different. We're dealing with humans. So every learner has his or her own uniqueness. And for a teacher, if your teaching has to be impactful, one has to take care of all these differences in the learners. Then you have the different backgrounds that they come from, the socio-cultural backgrounds, the economic backgrounds, and the different physical and the cultural environments that students come from. It varies. So according to that variation, teachers have to transact their programs, and they have to understand the children as per their backgrounds to ensure that they're able to deliver as per the needs of the children. And these things, they can come through experience, but that is a long way to go, right? So although a teacher may be born and may sometimes think, oh, I have the qualities of becoming a teacher, I have a passion for teaching, in the process of your learning, there could be a lot of damage done. Whereas when you have undergone the professional program, you are already equipped. The program already equips you with the understanding of all these different aspects that one needs to know to be an effective educator. So although, like I said, I do agree with the fact that teachers are born, yes, to a certain extent, because your passion, the kind of personal attributes that one has also go a long way in making one a good teacher. But in addition to that, there is also a science of teaching, which the teacher education program offers.
Those are very interesting and important points to reflect on. Thank you. Moving forward, many people think B.Ed is meant only for high school or higher secondary teaching. What other career opportunities and prospects are available after completing B.Ed?
Well, yes, there is an understanding that when you go for programs like DLED or B.Ed or MEd, that the only option for one is to get into teaching. But why not? There are many other opportunities. For instance, let me just take the context of our state and the different departments that we have. To be appointed in SCRT, the State Council of Educational Research and Training, one has to have a minimum of B.Ed to be appointed as any of the academic officers in SCRT, for instance. Then looking at the Nagaland Board of School Education, there too, it is preferable that officers appointed there have a teacher education background to be able to understand how curriculum is to be developed, how to design the curriculum for different levels in the schools, and then writing textbooks, also conducting evaluation, assessment, since they are mostly examining board. So definitely that is one area of specialization that teacher education program provides, And definitely those in the school education are people who have gone in from the school education directorate. They are officers who have climbed up through school education. So definitely B.Ed is a requirement there. And also, we have the teacher education institutions like ours, where, of course, it is not only B.Ed, but MEd is the requirement. Then we have the diets, catering to elementary teacher education. And see, all the projects related to school education these days, if you have noticed, be it Samagra or be it the Nectar project that we have that is so popular here in our state now, if you look at the requirements of the different officials that are being appointed there, B.Ed is a requisite, And of course, if you want to become a curriculum developer, even independently, we have different agencies in other parts of the country. We have different agencies for development of teachers, enhancement programs, NGOs that deal also with curriculum development and also with assessment, evaluation. In all of those kind of agencies, B.Ed is a requisite. Unless you have that requisite minimum qualification, one may not actually be appointed to be in those kind of agencies as well. So it has a lot of prospects. And even not only that, I would say that, after having undergone B.Ed, as per the kind of feedback that we get from our past students, it prepares one for life. No matter where you may be working, in the future, B.Ed always builds up your personality, builds up your understanding about dealing with people, understanding others' individual differences, and why not? Each one of us is one day going to become a family person. So even from understanding oneself to understanding members in the family, it could be your spouse, it could be your children, to guide your children. It is an education for life.
That certainly opens up a wider perspective for our younger listeners who may be listening. And now, many online B.Ed courses are now being advertised. Do you think such programs are reliable and professionally appropriate for preparing future teachers? What should students consider before enrolling?
Thank you so much for having raised that question about the online B.Ed, correspondence B.Ed programs. In fact, this would be the right kind of a platform to, create awareness about the fact that since 2015-16, the National Council for Teacher Education, which is the regulatory body for regulating teacher education in the country, has banned any kind of online teacher education programs. And one option is that if your first teacher education program has been in the regular mode, then there is an option that one may opt for a correspondence mode as a second teacher education program. But if you are applying for a first-time teacher education program, then online is totally not recognized by the council. And over and above that, there are very, very few universities that have been granted the permission to conduct such kind of programs. Like IGNO, for instance, Osmania University was at one time recognized for offering such kind of course. But apart from 2 or 3, there are no other universities that have been recognized for offering online teacher education programs. So if we see such kind of advertisements, let us understand that NCT does not recognize them. And even if you have acquired a degree through that, in the future, you may have a problem getting employment with that certificate because the certificate may prove to be a fake certificate or a certificate which is not recognized by the council.
Very useful guidance, especially for students who may be exploring those options right now. Now, the National Education Policy 2020 has introduced major changes in teacher education. We often hear about ITEP, the Integrated Teacher Education Program. What exactly is that and how is it different from the current B.Ed?
Yes, as we all know, NEP 2020 has brought out very groundbreaking or rather very revolutionary changes to the whole education system in the country, and teacher education has been no exception. So the ITEP, as you have very rightly said, is an integrated teacher education program where the different teacher education programs, particularly the B.Ed program, is now going to be integrated into the general graduation course, okay, which means after class 12, one may opt for a science stream, an arts stream, or a commerce stream. So along with that, if you have a future plan of becoming a teacher, now the B.Ed program, the teacher education program, is integrated into the general graduation program, and it is a 4-year course. So along with your general stream, you also study the teacher education courses integrated into that. So in 4 years, you can be qualified as a BA BEd, BSc BEd, BCom BEd. So that is one way of bringing BEd into the mainstream, because for many years BEd, or for that matter the teacher education program, has been an isolated program. That is, I think, one of the reasons why we are brought to our context today, our situation today, where I have to speak on what BEd is all about. So in order to integrate the teacher education program into the general stream, now this is what the NEP 2020 has advocated. And in fact, now teacher education programs are even integrated into the IIMs and the IITs. So along with that, with the programs there, you can also integrate the teacher education programs. So this is a very positive change that we are seeing. And I think our children, especially in the class 11, 12 levels, will have to now make a decision as to whether they would like to acquire a dual degree in 4 years' time and prepare themselves to become teachers in the future. So that is what ITEP is all about.
Thank you, ma'am. That's a very helpful explanation of what is clearly a significant shift in how we think about teacher preparation. As a state and as educational institutions, do you think we are prepared for the changes introduced through NEP 2020 or the ITEP? What are some of the major opportunities and challenges that lie ahead?
Well, we all know with anything new that is adopted, any new change that is to happen, there are definitely challenges. That is only natural, but it is not that we cannot overcome them. See, the very fact that the ITEP program now can only be introduced in multidisciplinary higher education institutions, all right, which means that a general college, for instance, a college may be offering just the art stream. Now, a college offering just a single stream will not be able to introduce the ITEP program. So a higher education institution has to have a minimum of 2 streams, So there are options provided by the National Council for Teacher Education, whereby existing multidisciplinary higher education institutions can introduce the ITEP program, or an existing standalone teacher education institution like a BEd college that offers only the BEd program will merge with a multidisciplinary higher education institution. Or the third option is they can collaborate. Multidisciplinary higher education institution can collaborate with a standalone teacher education institution and begin the ITEP program in collaboration. Now, here again, I would also like to mention that the ITEP program can be for the 3 streams, like I mentioned earlier. And again, the program is stage specific. Now, as per the NEP, there are 4 stages of education in the school level: the preparatory, the foundational, the middle, and the secondary. So each of the ITEP programs, be it in art stream, science stream, or commerce stream, now has to cater to either one of these levels. So the ITEP program has 3 streams and 4 levels. So that makes it altogether, if we take all of them together, 12 different programs, And over and above that, there is also a requirement of being NAAC accredited with a minimum of B++. And in our state, we do not have too many colleges with a B++, So the few that are there can definitely apply to start with the ITEP program, so long as they have the requisite faculty. Because here, for the ITEP program, the minimum qualification that a faculty needs to have is a master's degree in a subject with BEd and NET. So if they have faculty with those qualifications, there's a minimum faculty requirement. One institution can definitely introduce. But the problem with ours is with regard to the faculty. The post creation now has to be done. Colleges where they have an interest to introduce the ITEP program. And apart from that, also, standalone institutions like us, the Mokokchung College of Teacher Education, and we have another one. I'm only talking about the government institutions. We have another one in Kohima. Now we are standalone institutions. We will have to now upgrade into multidisciplinary, which means that we will have to now introduce general programs if we want to continue to exist and have the ITEP program integrated into the general program. So that is the way forward. Of course, there will be challenges, but we hope that very soon we will be able to have the ITEP program introduced in our state. In fact, we have just applied for introduction of ITEP for BA B.Ed secondary in collaboration with Fazil Ali College, which we are very fortunate. We have an A-grade NAC assessed higher education institution, which is multidisciplinary. So I think we are very fortunate that we are able to collaborate with them. Of course, the approval has to come from the NCT, so we are hopefully awaiting that.
That's a very honest and balanced view of where things stand. Thank you for that, ma'am. My next question is, beyond classroom teaching and the B.Ed degree, how can professionally qualified teachers contribute to society, and what message would you like to give to young people about the future of teacher education and the teaching profession in our state?
Like I said earlier, it is through experience that students who come in for the B.Ed program, as they graduate, they go out as competent individuals who are ready to take on different responsibilities in the society. A reason for that could be because this program exposes them to different problems, challenges that we have in our society and community. In the course of the program, they have a good number of exposure and outreach programs with the community whereby they are exposed to different situations, and their perspectives about their roles as an individual in the society, I think, takes a very big growth. They come to realize the numerous responsibilities that one can take as an individual, though not necessarily becoming a teacher. Their roles and responsibilities are being realized. That is one part. And alternatively, the program itself makes them understand and realize that being a teacher is not only teaching inside the classroom. You have a wider responsibility outside of the classroom. So in the process, they come to try to understand about the backgrounds of children, like I said in the beginning, the environments from which they come. They try to understand the family backgrounds and the various conflicting challenges that children come into the classroom with. So by the very virtue of being associated with their students in the school, they are exposed to many other problems in the society to which they realize they have a responsibility and have a big role. So definitely, after graduating from here, I've also come across many students who have gotten into NGOs that deal with, for instance, environmental concerns or things like HIV/AIDS. Those are all social concerns that we have today. So because of the kind of exposure that they've got when they were in the program, now they have realized their responsibilities, and in addition to being teachers, they have also gotten themselves involved with different kinds of NGOs that are serving our community and society.
Thank you, ma'am. We have now come to the final question. That is, nowadays there are many B.Ed institutions emerging across the country. Are you satisfied with the way these programs are being transacted and implemented?
Maybe I'm not competent to comment on the way programs are conducted in other parts of the country, although we do have knowledge about them. But one thing in general that I would like to highlight is a teacher education institution is very, very different from a general college, in the sense that the kind of responsibilities that firstly the teacher educators have to take up. They are not just teachers, they are not just assistant professors, they are teacher educators. Now, as teacher educators, there's a lot that is demanded of them. apart from the transaction of the content, there's more of a role that they have to play outside of the classroom beyond the content. Because this is my opinion that your students will look up to you as a role model of what teachers should be, So you may be teaching a lot of things in theory. You may be, discoursing a lot in theory. But you as a teacher educator performing has to be an example for the students. So that itself is a big demand on the teacher educators. Secondly, as an institution, the course demands a different kind of a work culture, an environment in a teacher education institution because of the kind of experiences that we want our students to have. It has to be always an active, a thriving, everyday environment. It is only there that we can nurture, in that short period of 2 years, we can nurture our students to becoming the kind of teachers that we want them to become as they go into the school system. So it is a big responsibility. And like I said, this kind of a culture, I don't know whether teacher education institutions live up to their responsibility. Now, that is a big challenge. And the sad part is that very often teacher education institutions lack the kind of, especially in the private institutions, because of the kind of resources and whatever the financial constraints, they are often not able to get the best of teacher educators and retain them as well. So that is another challenge because there are more private teacher education institutions as compared to government. So this is another challenge. Also with regard to the infrastructural facilities, to prepare a person for an all-round development, I think there are a lot of facilities that we require, but then these are sadly lacking in many teacher education institutions. So this is one of the challenges. But I'm sure in the future, with the kind of vision that the NEP has set forth, we will definitely be able to see better institutions, and let's hope that the quality of teacher education improves in the state and also in the country at large.
Those are truly inspiring and interesting words to end on. Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. T. Alemla Longkumer, on behalf of all our listeners and personally, I want to say a very profound thank you. This conversation has been rich, honest, and deeply informative. You have helped us see the B.Ed program not just as a simple academic course, but as a cornerstone of a functioning, equitable, and aspirational educational system. To our listeners, if you are a student wondering about your future, a parent wondering about your child's education, or simply a citizen who cares about the quality of learning in our schools, I hope today's conversation has given you something meaningful to think about. Thank you for listening. Stay curious, stay informed, and we will see you next time.